I've made a ton of mistakes in my first few years of youth ministry. It's probably safe to say that all the books in the world cannot contain the many mistakes that I made as a youth worker. One time, I totaled the church bus. Yeah, I accidentally ran over a small animal with the church van, and I didn't even stop because we were so late getting back to the church already. I know, that's awful. I'm still haunted by that one, and I can't even bring myself to tell my daughter. My wife won't let me forget it though, because she was in the vehicle behind me and stopped and made it right. A moment that I have obviously never, ever lived down. Now, granted, I was young. I was, 35, 37, somewhere right in there. And young youth workers make mistakes sometimes. I've gone over budget. I have overhyped an event that I knew was going to be average in an attempt to get more kids to sign up. I've left a teenager behind at a train station in Paris on a missions trip. I've left senior leadership out of the loop and did my own thing. And now that I think about it, I'm not actually so convinced that I should be the one teaching this training. I mean, holy smokes, why do people even trust me with their teenager ever? But one other and far more subtle mistake, but equally as bad, was that I didn't do a very good job of partnering with parents. When I was a new youth worker, I didn't even really try. I thought that youth ministry was the end-all, be-all of spiritual discipleship for teenagers and decided to kind of ignore those whining, argumentative, and oftentimes very frustrating people who gave birth to my youth group. I used to naively think, why won't they just leave me alone and let me disciple their children? Now, how stupid is that? Again, I feel like I'm in a confessional booth here. So I've been a bonehead in youth ministry more times than I can imagine, and still am from time to time. But as I've learned and grown in youth ministry over the past 20 years, I've come up with 4 words that I want to describe our youth ministry's partnership with parents. I hope these words can become helpful in your ministry's partnership with parents too. The first word is communicate. And I realize now as a parent of teenagers myself, I've got 2 in my house, just how important the word communicate is. In fact, I think that while it is the most basic function of your youth ministry's relationship to parents, it's also the one that's most frequently missed. You see, youth workers are oftentimes so entrenched in the ministry that they feel everyone is just as strongly in the know as they are. But that oftentimes isn't the case. Now, just because you sent that 14-year-old home with a handout for your overnighter doesn't mean that information actually ever made it home. In fact, as a dad, I can't remember the last time something handed to my kids at church actually made it past the trash can nearest the youth group exit. So let me be practical and simple here. Keep parents in the loop about what's going on. Let them know what's planned and give overwhelming clarity and great communication. This means that your email lists, your text database, even your interpersonal skills, they've got to be dialed in. Parents should be able to subscribe in a matter of seconds to your portal of information, or if it's the day before winter retreat or summer camp, the packing list should be front and center. In my mind, now as a parent of teenagers and as a youth worker, communication is the key to partnering with parents better. You know, the DYM Parent Newsletter is part of our monthly membership, and it's proven to be a helpful resource for a ton of youth workers that were looking for tools to make themselves stronger in the area of communication. And honestly, I could care less if you use the newsletter builder or not. I just want you to take this principle and make sure that you're doing something that really helps communicate the important stuff to parents. The second word that I want to define my youth ministry to parents is educate. One of my new goals is to help parents understand what their teenagers going through developmentally. I want part of their education to be understanding adolescent development. You know, it's amazing to me just how little parents really know about what's happening in the development of their child. I mean, many parents are simply intimidated by what they don't know or don't understand about their kids. So what would it look like if a youth ministry partnered with parents through education to relieve some of that fear and pain? what I try to do is make it a point to find resources and trainings to help parents have a clear and fresh understanding of their teenager. Another word that I want to describe our ministry is blended. You might be thinking of blended family, and that would be natural for you to think, but what I'm referring to is a blending of teenagers with adults. A parent partnering ministry is one where teenagers and adults rub shoulders often. Now, one of the ways that we've been experimenting with this idea of blending over the past few years is something in our church called Worship Together Weekend. I know for many denominations or churches, this happens every week. So you may be thinking, yes, we call that church. But for us and many like us, teenagers arrive with their parents and kids go one place, teens go to the other. Everyone goes to their own class and their own way. So what we're wanting to see is our students worship side by side as part of the larger church body. That's how I grew up. And it's not the only way that blending can happen. It's just our way. It's one of our values. So maybe you'll be blended and try putting teenagers and adults together for serve projects or holiday events or mission trips, something like that. We love youth group. And we want to continue to do that specialized ministry to a specific teenage group, but we don't want to create youth ministry island where students graduate from high school, they graduate from the church body because they were never really a part of it in the first place. We're still experimenting with what this blending looks like for us, and I'd love to learn from what you're doing as well. The fourth and final word is the word believe. This word is a little obscure and maybe even largely intangible. But as a youth worker, you have to really make sure that you believe that partnering with parents is the best way. Now, I know I could have started with this one, right? It even makes sense, right? It would give you some time to think about it. And I moved it to the end to go, hey, I want you to really reflect on your heart here and consider if you really believe it. It's easy to work on your website, knock out a newsletter, come up with a resource list for parents or something like that. But at the very core, you have to really believe that part of our responsibility is to partner with parents and play a central role in the development and the spiritual lives of our teenagers. Do you really believe that? Again, confession time. I do, but I sure didn't at first. And I hope that regardless of where you fall, you'll give it some significant thought today. So this week, there's no doubt that both you and I, we're going to make some serious mistakes in youth ministry. But hopefully you won't leave a student behind or run over anything with a church vehicle. And the name of the church was on the side of our van and everything. But let's be equally sure that we don't leave parents behind. Let's set them up to win with their teenager. Let's make them the heroes and really partner with them so they feel our enthusiasm and our hope for their teenager that's in their home. Don't miss out on encouraging and partnering with parents and the students of your ministry. Blessings to you as you serve Jesus this week.